Hello. Did I already record this entire video once with the mic just completely off? Yes, I did. It didn't even have the audio from the phone. I'm Jack, no K, Jack in the attic. I consume so much knitting content. Literally so much. I love knitting podcasts, even though I hate that they're called podcasts and in a visual format. I consume so much knitting content that I think it is no longer fair of me to not contribute. And honestly, I want there to be more fiber arts videos in the world. And I don't want to watch my own videos more than absolutely necessary for editing purposes. But number go up. Number of videos in the world go up. And that's good. So I do want to talk about the knit and crochet and then a little bit of sewing at the end projects I have finished and started over the summer and then a little bit of the spring as well. Honestly, kind of just throwing everything into one video because I have things to throw into the video. So I will start with the fiber arts thing and leave the sewing projects for the end in case you're not interested in the sewing projects. No problem. So I do want to, I guess, start with what I'm wearing. To put my coffee somewhere else. Oh, I gotta do something with this. This is gonna have to be okay because I don't have a better idea. So the outermost layer that I'm wearing is a piece I crocheted actually last summer, so it doesn't technically count for this list. I really wanted exactly what this was, essentially. It's a little bit longer than a quarter sleeve, so it doesn't get in my way as much because it is a very wide sleeve. This was based off a free pattern from Your Inspirations that came out in their collection of like things to make for the Barbie movie. Um, so obviously it was in pink. I really just kind of learned the X stitch and how to increase and decrease with it. And I made something the shape that I wanted. I will insert pictures because this is my favorite piece I've ever made. I wear it all the time. And I don't get to talk about it. That's a lie. I talk about it all the time. This is like the only piece that people ask me about. They ask me where I got it. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I spent like a month and a half crocheting this piece because I couldn't think of the correct search terms to find what I actually wanted. And it ended up better than I could have ever imagined. So that's that. The tank top underneath I'm wearing is, I will try to insert a picture of this as well because sitting. This is the Pottery Slip Over, which is a semi-cropped little ruffle tank top. And that is by Knit Tail? Knit Tail. Pottery Slipover. Um, I have sort of a medium to medium bad habit of using sport weight yarn for everything, even if the pattern, especially if the pattern does not call for sport weight yarn. I believe this was supposed to be fingering weight, so I did use a sport weight anyway and sized down. I sized up in the needles to keep the same drape sized down in the pattern. So I knitted a size 2 and it still ended up plenty like flowy and oversized, and like the intended fit is pretty oversized. So I think it worked out. As someone who prefers a pretty like generous amount of positive ease, I feel like I have an easier time ignoring instructions and having things work out anyway. So sick. I mean, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm not gonna stop. This is the new Arezzo yarn from Hobie. Everyone else pronounces it Hobie, so I have to assume there's something I don't know We're gonna go with Hobie. It's a linen, bamboo, and cotton blend that feels so nice. I am a big fan of linen in general, so heavy and yet still extremely breathable. I did size up the needles from 4 millimeter to 4.5. I did also do a different neckline. I did just a 2x2 rib. It does call for a folded neckline, which I honestly tried twice to accomplish and failed both times. I have done a folded waistband and had a great time with that. It worked out perfectly, loved it. Thought, oh wow, new technique that I can just do now. It's so easy and fun. And then necklines came along and said, no, you can't do that. So I did my best. And then I didn't. And then I stopped doing my best. And then I just did something else. So the other alteration I made to this is the original pattern has 2 rows of increases for the ruffle. The first row is knit front and back every stitch, and then another increase row of knit 1, knit front and back. I thought that was maybe just going to be a little bit too much ruffle for me. I might run out of yarn, so I just skipped that, and I still feel like there's plenty of ruffle. So very happy with this tank top. I've worn it like 4 times since I finished it last week. That's not gross. So moving on to other finished objects, I do have my first ever crochet blanket. I actually crocheted 3 blankets, but I only have one of them physically with me. The other 2 are gifts. If I have pictures, and if I don't, but for a different reason. So the one that I do actually have with me, I finished this in June. This was a 100 Nights to Halloween crochet along from last year. 100 nights should have been enough time to crochet 100 granny squares. However, I didn't do that. But it is just a nice big granny square blanket. Halloween color granny square blanket. I haven't gotten a ton of use out of this yet, just because I did finish it again in June in the middle of, well, in the beginning of the summer. I really just have it laid over my entire love seat. It covers the whole thing. So this was the 100 Nights to Halloween Crochet Along by Alt Knots, who I adore. I did not choose to participate in this year's blanket crochet along. I just have too many other projects going on. It looks really fun though. I did such a bad job with keeping up last year that I don't trust myself to do that anymore. The next piece is the Flutterbutt shorts by Jessie Made Designs. I made mine too big, but they have a cute little ruffle at the bottom. And with the drawstring, the fact that they're a little too oversized does not really matter. They are extremely light and flowy, so the extra fabric just creates more ruffle, and it's fine. Mine are a little bit sheer, but I'm a big fan of boxer briefs, so it really doesn't matter to me. Cut that part out. No one wants to know. So the pattern does call for wool, I believe fingering weight yarn. I checked a million times over and over to see, am I missing something? Is it supposed to be held double? Why are these so sheer? But I'm using a cotton yarn, and I learned a lot about the properties of cotton yarn during this process. This is, I think, either the Twister Solid or Friends Wheel. You can see how sheer it is. The Twister Solid or Friends Wheel from Hobie. Honestly, those 2 yarns are nearly identical to me. If I remember right, they have the exact same fiber content, which is like 45 and 55 cotton and acrylic in one of those directions. I don't know which one there is more of. It's something like that. I do like cotton yarns with some synthetic for a little more like resiliency. I like to wear my pieces a lot. Um, so like not a fan of acrylic as a concept, but in practice, oh boy, does it really work for me, unfortunately. I have a little bit of a wool allergy. I can use superwash and I can use alpaca. It's not like a skin thing at all. It like makes me wheezy. It makes me so congested. I'm just inhaling a lot of fibers, I guess. So because I can use superwash and because I can use non cheap fibers, it like has to be lanolin, I assume. So I'm just sort of going about my business with mostly plant fibers, which is fine with me. I'm like kind of a sweaty person. This was the folded waistband in question that I found so like simple and effective. I will definitely be doing that again. I would love to remake these shorts a little bit longer and less sheer, just for a little more functionality, but I do still wear these a lot. So I did kind of knit these in a panic right before we left for my partner and I. We left for a little miniature like birthday vacation at the end of May, beginning of June. Finished them with like a couple of hours to spare. I did have to restart one of the legs due to a cat claw incident, and I couldn't put the fibers all the little. It split the yarn, and I couldn't get everything back to where it needed to be, and I had to rip it out and start over. Did I cry? I don't know. I wasn't there. The piece I finished after that, I actually worked on this on the trip that I knit those shorts for. This is the Gemma cardigan by I am Blanca on Instagram, the Gemma cardigan. This is also cotton yarn. I believe this is Cascade cotton socks. The only way I can tell the difference is because cotton socks has like a little bit of gray white speckling. It's like not quite heathered, but there's little speckles. So I'm pretty sure this is Cascade cotton socks. This pattern I really enjoyed making, even though it did take me much longer than I expected. I thought I was a fairly fast crocheter, but this took me like between starting and stopping and starting other projects and working on other things. I think I started this in December or January. I know it was cold out and I know I put it down for quite a long time. I finished the body and then the sleeve curse hit me. No one wants to make sleeves. That's probably not true. I don't want to make sleeves. But that cardigan has been a nice, like, light layer, heavier than this, warmer than this, um, because I just finished it in also June, I think. I only got to wear it a couple of times before it really got too warm. If I went out at night or ever, it would be probably nice about this time of year as it's starting to cool down. Um, So excited to get some more wear out of that because I really like how it fits. I think the only thing I don't like about it is that the cuff itself is very stretchy. It's a back loop only, becomes stretchy. But where it attaches to the sleeve is not stretchy. So that is a little bit of a bummer, but it also keeps it looking nice, like not stretched out. So I don't know. Overall, I really like it. I think it's very cute. Okay, this is the Helix pullover. It's another of Jessie May Designs. This sleeve looks incredibly long, but I swear it looks correct when I wear it, which has been one time to take pictures because I finished this in, I believe, July. I started it in March, and it was my first attempt at lace knitting. It's fairly simple as far as lace goes, but still, it was a first for me for sure. So it took quite a while to get the hang of it, but when I did, it was fairly easy to memorize the stitch pattern. It was a little tedious. It was, again, the sleeves that got me. I'm just a sleeve hater. This is why I make so many tank tops. I think I have knit 4 tank tops in the last like year and a half. No sleeves gang forever. All my homies hate sleeves. This is a yarn that I picked up at the Maker's Retreat, the Unwind Fiber, what is it? Unwind Yarn. It's a yarn store in Lee Summit, Missouri. They put on a Maker's Retreat and have a vendor room set up. This was the, oh no, I'm showing you the one big mistake I made that I couldn't fix. Later in the project, I figured out how to go back and correct this, but this is just never gonna get fixed. It's on the back shoulder, like here. I'm not gonna do anything about that ever. This yarn is the Moondrake Fibers Chibi Sport, or maybe it's just Moondrake, not Moondrake Fibers. It's the Moondrake Chibi Sport in the color Slate. At the Maker's Retreat, the night before I actually got there, apparently there was a talk, a presentation that I missed. Someone told me about this the next day, where it was discussed that black yarn is the hardest to dye. It's hardest to achieve black from like indie dyers, non like industrial dyeing, which I should have known because every time I try to dye a piece of clothing black, it ends up purple. I finally had my first successful black dyeing experience by mixing, because the RIT black dye, I swear it's purple, but I mixed it with neon green to dye a garment that was a dark gray that leaned warm. So the purple tone black, neon green, it finally worked. I don't know if that formula is going to work on everything, but oh my god, I'm so relieved. I don't know how everyone else is doing this. I see people dyeing clothing black all the time and it works for some reason. I'm infinitely jealous and kind of angry, actually. Anyway, that's why I did not find a single skein pancake ball of black yarn in the entire vendor room. This was the closest I found. It is a dark gray, but it leans very green. I really like green. Green is one of the only like colors I do um, enjoy for clothing for myself. Um, so I was actually very thrilled to find this. It is superwash merino, so I can breathe mostly. Extremely squishy. Very excited for it to cool down a little bit so that I can actually wear this out. Very excited. So the last thing, maybe the most recent thing I made besides this tank top, the pottery slipover, is kind of a nothing project. I have had this yarn forever, and I genuinely mean since like 2013, 2014. I've had this yarn, and I found myself in need of a small basket, made a small basket. My hands are too sort of like ancient and arthritic. Hey, that's not a joke. I actually have arthritis. So please don't think I'm making fun of people with arthritis. I am, but like only myself. My hands are sort of too old and arthritic to do such tight gauge crocheting anymore. It hurts so bad. So I made this kind of as small as I could tolerate. And it ended up being really functional. I have some whips in it at the moment just for filming purposes, but in real life it actually holds our like fidget toys for the household. Some Neatos. This is from the zoo. This is from Walgreens. And this is from Micro Center. And this is from eBay. So this holds fidget toys almost exclusively. We have a couple of little like notebooks, but it just stays on the lower level of our coffee table and has been so functional. I just finished this like last week and already it's a permanent part of the household and it's staying forever. So if you have leftover super chunky yarn from something, baskets. Just make baskets. There was no pattern. I just made a rectangle and then I stopped making a rectangle and did infinite rounds. That's actually how a lot of pieces are made, is you make a rectangle and then you stop making a rectangle. So those are my instructions. If you want to make a basket, make a rectangle or a circle and then stop doing that. So those are my finished objects for the spring and summer. I think technically it is still summer. The weather is still very much giving summer. We had one sort of week of a reprieve from the heat. Now it is back full force. In my heart it is fall, and I am just going to go about my life as if it is fall. I do intend to. Oh, we haven't gone over my whips yet. Okay, never mind. I don't intend anything. I've never intended anything in my life. This is based on, it's just going to be something between a bandana and a shawl. Just like fun scarf size. Little scarf. Fun. Fun. It's based on the Foundation Kerchief by M. Hannah. I took a knitting class at Yarn Social in Kansas City, where we learned this pattern. It has a really interesting cast on. It's a garter tab thing. You make a rectangle and then you end up with 9 stitches around the rectangle and then it becomes a triangle. I thought it was very interesting. I will absolutely be using it again. I also think the increases on this pattern are very nice. It creates a little like spine. I'm covering up the spot where I messed up. But I just think it's pretty. I'm making this for my brother-in-law who also happens to like green, thank goodness. I used this yarn, which is this is Malabrigo Rios in Ivy, I'm pretty sure. So for Christmas, I made him a hat and fingerless mitts with this and had way more left over than I remembered. So, scarf. And I will give it to him either whenever I see him next or also Christmas, which might be when I see him next. So, we'll see. I just thought it would be nice. Oh, I am skipping the eyelet rows of the foundation kerchief. I just didn't want to do eyelets on this one. It's fine. The next project I'm working on is also a gift. It is the Leela top. Yes, the Leela top by Kadri, maybe? Kadri? I'm using Bamboo Pop DK from Universal Yarns in the color Sand. This was also left over from a Christmas project for my mom, and this top that I'm making is for my mom. It is for her birthday. For her birthday. Why did I say that twice? It's like a boat neck tank top with some garter rows, monochrome stripy, which I think is fun without being too wild, you know. But I really do enjoy this particular yarn. I find with bamboo heavy yarns, they're so hard to weave in the ends, but this one doesn't have that issue. I believe it's bamboo and cotton, so it has enough grippiness to not be a huge pain in the ass, even though it's still extremely soft. So excited to see if I have enough yarn for this. I have doubts now that I have started it. That's the problem with stash projects, how often they force me to purchase more yarn when that was the whole reason I was working for my stash, so I didn't have to do that. How it goes. So I haven't gotten super far. I just started the back. Fingers crossed that I can finish this in the next 2 weeks, especially if I need to get more yarn, which I probably do. At least it's actually in stock now. When I desperately needed more of this yarn last time and overbought by just a little, could not find it anywhere except Etsy. I had to buy it secondhand from someone else on Etsy. Another whip. This, okay, I have very strong feelings about this. Lost a stitch marker. Very strong feelings about the partition pullover by James and Watts. I'm just so excited to wear this. I'm using the Hobie Twister Solid. Yes, Hobie Twister Solid. I am on the second cake of it, I believe. That's something I keep in my stash most of the time. I just really like this yarn and I use it for a lot of projects. It tends to hold up to wear very well, and it's still like light and breathable because of the cotton. So this particular project I am so excited about because I am 30 and I am sweaty and I am a little boring and I miss the like fishnet sleeves of my youth and I can't convince myself to just wear them now. I have some like sensory issues and I don't want to. So I feel like this will get the vibe across while fitting into my like current wardrobe a lot better. Um, I did make it a little bit cropped. I just feel like it will be a little more versatile for me in that way. But oh my god, there's like nothing that can make me knit 2 sleeves. Like I'll do anything to wear this except for knit the second sleeve. You know? I just I'm tired. I don't want to do sleeves. Are you guys ever worried about swallowing a stitch marker? Like if you're I know I'm not gonna swallow a stitch marker, but what if? And I'm horrified that it might happen. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever swallowed a stitch marker? Let me know. Go to the hospital, actually. And then let me know. I do still want to know. My last whip is actually my first pair of socks ever. Um, so I've talked a little bit about how everything I own is black, everything I wear is black. Most of the things I make are black or gifts or gray. The idea behind this is that the most colorful area of my wardrobe already is socks. And I love to go to yarn stores and I love to look at and touch and purchase the fun sock yarns. But I've never knit a sock before, so we're not going to talk about the heel. We're certainly not going to talk about the second sock heel because somehow I got worse in between socks 1 and 2. Don't know how that happened. Anyway, um, my idea was when I travel anywhere, go to a local yarn store, pick up some sock yarn. That's my souvenir. These are my Springfield, Missouri socks. Don't ask me how I ended up going on vacation to Springfield, Missouri. There was actually a lot of cool stuff there. I saw the fork. That was huge for me. And it's actually just huge for everyone. It's a huge fork. Had a really good time. Picked up the sock yarn, got it caked in the store so I could cast on immediately. Um, because I'm just sort of a permanent passenger when your partner drives professionally. I was worried that maybe that would lead to me driving more because if you get off work and you've been driving for 12 hours, why would you want to drive more? But some people are insane and like to drive, and some other people are just lucky to be in that particular situation of not having to drive. So was talking about socks, right? I was talking about socks. So I have no clue what this yarn is. It's from Mad Knitters, I believe. It's the yarn store in Springfield. No clue. Don't know the brand. Don't know the colorway. It's, you know, on a dark gray base, so I feel like it'll work. Plus, I wear boots all the time, like year round, all the time. So I feel like I can wear colorful socks and have just a little bit peeking out, and that's super fun. That's cute and fun and fresh and funky. Here's that second sock I was talking about. Don't know how I got worse at heels. I don't want to talk about it. Don't look at the heel. This is the project that is small enough to fit in my purse, so I bring it with me to like doctor's appointments or seeing Moulin Rouge at the Kansas City Music Hall by myself. I think having a sock project in my purse is going to be the way to go moving forward. It just fits, and then I'll have socks. So I did purchase that yarn and start that sock in late May. Have not finished 2 socks in the span of 2.5 months. In the like grand scheme of in the vastness of like time and space, I will eventually knit 2 socks. Those are Yes, those are actually all of my whips. And those are all of my knit and crochet projects. I have a few little sewing projects, not little at all. I have a few sewing projects that I would like to cram in this video for fun. My sewing strategy is a little bit fuck it, we've all. I have been sewing since I was like 5 or 6 years old. Um, and I don't know why that hasn't turned into me being really good at sewing. I'm very medium at sewing, and I don't like ironing things, and I don't like trying that hard. I just want to make little practical garments for myself, and then I want to stop sewing. So that's mostly what I do. The most recent thing I made is just a fun little gathered skirt with huge pockets. It's just rectangles and pockets, so it's self drafted with the help of a tutorial from Rosary Apparel. It is made of cotton flannel, so it's not quite a summer project. I mean, I made it in the summer. I'm really excited to wear this in the fall. These are my colors. Everything Halloween all the time, basically. I do tend to dislike when these waistbands get super bulky. The actual tutorial was for 3 smaller pieces of elastic, which I think would have looked nicer, but when I got to the waistband, I didn't have it in me, and I had 1.5 inch elastic sitting right there. And I thought, ooh, you know what I'll do is just give up. So I certainly did, which you can tell from the selvage being on the inside of the waistband. It says not intended for children's sleepwear, and I didn't make children's sleepwear, so technically I haven't done anything wrong. It's fine. I don't even know any children to make pajamas for. The only thing I could think of to do to combat the like bulkiness of the waistband was to move some of to most of the fullness around to the back and then sew just a straight seam along both sides. And that has worked really well. I need to put something in the back so that I know where the back is without having to try it on and examine it so closely. But yes, quick afternoon project that did not require nearly as much discussion as I just gave it, I'm sure. I have been on a kind of a skirt kick. Skirts are just easy and fun to make. This is actually another Rosary Apparel tutorial that I used for the tiered skirt in a black cotton gauze. Also has big pockets. I'm getting better at pockets finally. I have, like, I want to French seam everything because I don't like finishing with a zigzag stitch and I don't have a serger. But it's just not really possible for me to do French seams and pockets because it just doesn't, in my brain, I don't know how to do it. If you have if you have tips on that, please, God, don't tell anyone. I don't know how to, I can't figure that out. Anyway, this is a cotton double gauze from Fabric Warehouse. Fabric, what is it? Fabric Wholesale Direct. It's from Fabric Wholesale Direct. Um, I have purchased this cotton double gauze a couple of times, which you'll see in my next project. I don't think I will be purchasing from them again due to one particular incident. So would love some leads on some nice cotton double gauze because I use it a lot. And this skirt has actually really gotten me through the summer. It's sort of the polar opposite of the super snuggle flannel whatever. Yeah, been delightful. This one has narrower elastic in the waistband, and I also did a zigzag stitch like along the entire waistband as I stretched it out. That did sort of permanently widen the waistband, and now it sits a little bit lower than I'd like, but I actually did end up liking that as well. So, happy accidents. So this was actually made much earlier in the spring. This was maybe the first thing I had. This was my first sewing project in a while. I guess I did make a hinterland dress um, in like late winter when it was just barely starting to warm up. So I'm not counting that in this video, but I did make in early spring. So much fabric here. I don't know where the top is. This is a huge, fun, wide leg jumpsuit by Thistle Thistle. It's called the Half and Half Play Suit. I did not make it half and half because I'm not fun and I only wear one color, and this is the fabric I had. So I did make it a half black and half black jumpsuit. I will put a picture up here because there's no way I can get it all into frame. It's just, it's so big, it's so fun, and so comfy. I wore it to the river market on one extremely hot, like April day. It got up to like 89 degrees for some reason. So those are my projects. That's what I've made this spring and summer. In my next update, I will ideally have the partition pullover long done because I want to be wearing that thing like yesterday. So I'll come back with an update on finished objects, new whips. I do want to film yarn crawl this year. I had such a good time doing yarn crawl last year. I would love to vlog it. So get ready for the yarn crawl vlog haul. And I'm going to say it as many times as I possibly can between now and then also in that video, and then also forever. So, okay, my phone's dying. Um, I'll see you for my yarn crawl vlog haul. Okay, thanks, bye.